Who gave you the nerve to step on my floor dressed in this trash? In the darkness, a cold voice slithered into my ear like a snake. Then came the heavy sound of metal striking the ground. Thud, thud, thud. It wasn't footsteps. It was the countdown of death. I froze where I stood, sweat running down my back and dripping onto the redwood floor, rumored to cost 50,000 a square meter. Lightning tore through the rain-soaked window. That's when I saw the man in the wheelchair. Dimitri, the tyrant of the dance world and this city's living nightmare. The cane in his hand, with its pure silver handle, was pointed straight at my throat. I just want to dance. My voice shook. My cheap sneakers looked painfully out of place on that priceless floor. Dance! He let out a cold laugh and pushed himself up with the cane. His crippled right leg dragged across the floor, making a grinding sound that set my teeth on edge. He closed in on me, his gaze fixed on me like I was an animal waiting to be slaughtered. Look at your feet. I lowered my head. A glaring scratch cut across the flawless grain of the redwood. It was caused by grit, stuck to the sole of my shoe. 1,000,000. He said the number as casually as if he were commenting on the weather. This floor was flown in from Brazil as raw timber. One step from you ruined its soul. My legs gave out, and I dropped to my knees. I can't afford it. Please, I really can't. I was a dishwasher. My monthly pay couldn't buy even a fragment of this floor. Dimitri looked down at me from above. The cold tip of his cane lifted my chin. Can't afford it. Then call the police. He pulled out his phone. The screen light lit up his grim face. No, don't call the police. I lunged forward and wrapped my arms around his leg, even though it was the limb he hated being touched. As long as I don't go to jail, I'll do anything. The air suddenly went still. Dimitri didn't kick me away. He stared at my rain-soaked face, his expression turning strange and unfathomably deep. Anything. The ripple of rain's heard, or I'll pull out the police. Then who'll done. They put the phone away and took out a neatly folded document from his coat. I happened to be short one living, breathing stand. The papers were tossed into my face. Sole contract. Sign it. Trembling, I opened it. The terms were horrifying. On call 24 hours a day, all social contact cut off, unconditional obedience. This is a slave contract. Instinctively, I tried to throw it away.
Your gambling addict father owes an underground lender 800,000.
Tonight is the deadline. Dimitri stated the truth calmly, pushing me into despair. Sign it, and I'll pay the debt for him. Don't sign, and you and your father can disappear together. He knew everything. I had no choice at all. I grabbed the pen and signed the name Rosa on the party B line. Very good.
Dimitri snapped his fingers.
2 bodyguards in black appeared from nowhere and pinned me down. Since you're mine now, you don't need this kind of trash.
He pointed at my shoes. The scars ripped sonitals.
This is Bartiber Jockrams as a videohono. To beat your roll, touch me the paper. Off my sneakers and threw them into the fireplace right in front of me. The stench of burning rubber filled the room. Stand up, he ordered. Barefoot. I stepped onto the icy floor, my toes curling in fear. Should I start dancing? I asked carefully. Dance? Dimitri looked like he'd just heard a joke.
You think you're worthy? He slammed his cane against the floor. You'll stand right here, on one leg.
Until dawn.
This is to find your center of balance.
With that, he turned and left, leaving behind only his indifferent silhouette. So like his low murmur drifted back on the wind. I didn't know who he was seeing through me. I only knew that from this moment on, I had sold my soul to the devil. I had lost all feeling in my legs. The torrential rain outside had stopped, and a pale dawn was spreading across the horizon. I stood in the middle of the dance floor, swaying like a crane with a broken leg. Dimitri sat on the velvet sofa, lazily swirling a glass of red wine in his hand. He hadn't slept all night. He just stared at me, as if admiring an unfinished sculpture.
Bend your knees.
Crack!
The cane struck mercilessly behind my knee.
I cried out and pitched forward. My face slammed into the floor, the taste of blood spreading in my mouth.
I thought he might help me up, or at least let me rest.
Useless. Can't even stand properly. His voice held nothing but disgust. Go put on that outfit.
He pointed toward a mannequin in the corner.
It held a black lace training outfit, cut so boldly it felt almost humiliating. When I picked it up, I caught a faint scent of old perfume. It wasn't new.
Do I really have to?
How I clutched my chest, trying to hold on to the last shred of dignity I had. Clause 3 of the contract, Dimitri said calmly. Your sense of shame belongs to me. He rolled his wheelchair closer and grabbed my collar. Go change. Don't make me do it myself. In the changing room, I clenched my teeth and put it on. It was too tight. The fabric dug into my skin as if it had been tailored for someone slimmer, someone else entirely. When I stepped back out, the look in Dimitri's eyes changed. The disgust vanished, replaced by something close to obsession. He suddenly moved in and pinned me against the huge floor-length mirror with one hand. Look at the mirror. He spoke close to my ear, his breath hard. In the reflection, the woman in black lace looked unfamiliar and dangerously alluring. Not quite. The waist is too thick. He frowned and roughly pulled over a cinching strap. Inhale. He tightened it. And tightened it again. My ribs protested, the air squeezed out of Mommy. It's Dimitri's cordy lungs. It hurts. Tears spilled over. Remember this pain, he said. His hand slid down my spine, his fingertips cold, sending a shiver through me. This is the price of art. He didn't violate me. He was using my body to reach for someone who was already dead. Being treated as a substitute was more humiliating than outright cruelty.
Let go of me.
I started to struggle.
Don't move.
He barked the words, then abruptly released me.
I collapsed to the floor, gasping for air.
Dimitri looked down at me. The feverish light in his eyes faded, replaced by cold detachment.
He pulled out a box of ointment and tossed it in front of me.
Put it on. We start flexibility training tonight. And if I don't? I glared up at him. He smiled, cruel and captivating at the same time.
Then your father might lose another finger.
He crouched down and picked up the ointment. Even crippled, his movements were still elegant, like a nobleman's. Or, he added softly, I can help you apply it. Before I could refuse, his long, strong hand was already wrapped around my ankle. As the ointment spread, the sharp sting quickly turned cool and soothing.
I watched his lowered gaze, his rare moment of focus, and my heart skipped despite myself.
This demon, could he actually be gentle? Rosa, wake up! He was just maintaining his tool, nothing more than a tool. Look closer. Dimitri's roar echoed through the empty dance studio. This was our first attempt at a partnered dance frame. Tango is an embrace in motion. But I didn't dare hold him. Every time I moved toward his chest, that overwhelming masculine presence made me want to retreat on instinct. What are you dodging? He yanked me back again. This time, trapped by his large hand, my chest slammed hard against his. No space. Not even a sheet of paper could fit between us. On the dance floor, I am your oxygen. He looked down at me, his gaze aggressively intense. You breathe only the air I give you. His arm clamped around my waist like an iron vice. The pressure was so strong it felt like my ribs might crack. We glided across the floor. I could feel his right leg trembling slightly. He was forcing himself to endure it. To maintain that perfect tyrant image, he was bearing intense pain. Without thinking, I tried to take some of his weight and reached for his side.
Get away from me.
To be a furious shout. I was shoved hard and crashed into the bar. Dimitri stood there with his cane, his face paper white, cold sweat covering his forehead.
Who told you to support me?
His voice shook with the anger of being exposed. I don't need pity, especially not pity from bonding and trash like you. My heart felt like it had been pricked by a needle. I just wanted to help you.
Help me? You think you're worthy?
He stepped closer and closer, his words slicing through my pride like knives.
You think wearing this outfit makes you a white swan, Rosa? Deep down, you're just a dishwasher.
That reek of dish soap on you. You can scrub forever, and it'll never come off. Tears burned in my hands. I bit my lip hard, refusing to let them fall. Yes, I am a dishwasher. I straightened my back and met his gaze. But at least I'm whole. Unlike you, a crippled psycho.
The air went dead silent for 3 seconds. Dimitri's pupils shrank sharply.
I thought he might kill me, but he didn't. He suddenly laughed.
A sound that sent chills down my spine.
Very good. His cane hooked my belt and dragged me back into his arms in one brutal motion, this time rougher than ever. Then let this cripple teach you what real dance is. The music burst to life. Piazzolla's Libertango. He drove me into a wild spin. This wasn't dancing, it was combat. His strength was terrifying, charged with a force that felt like it could destroy everything. In my dizziness, I felt something I'd never known before. The sensation of flying. Then, abruptly, a cell phone ringtone shattered the moment. Digging through my bag for my phone. The screen showed the name Alain Ming. He was the delivery guy who used to have a crush on me.
Hello.
The moment I answered, a hand reached out. Dimitri snatched the phone without even looking and threw it straight to the floor. Crack. The expensive rosewood floor was unharmed. My old phone shattered into pieces. What are you doing? I screamed. Dimitri ground his foot down on the broken foam. Clause 1 of the contract. He looked up, his eyes cold like a gatekeeper from hell. Your world can contain only me. From today on, you are not allowed to smile at any other man, not even a stray dog. An exquisite velvet gift box sat in the center of the floor. Dimitri was seated beside it, unusually dressed in a formal suit.
Open it. He hesitated, then lifted the lid. Inside was a pair of red, high-heeled dance shoes.
The satin was blood red, the heels sharp as daggers. Stunning, almost frighteningly so.
They're for me.
I could hardly believe it. When in that night, his idolab night, my might night, I not allowed into that I tied about again that day, but a catch I revert his abodymus. When I married him in that God's virgin Mayotte.
Hayakovi be the
Who I cheated by tail. The way I tied away the wides and all that away in Adelaide night. In that moment, even Cinderella's glass slippers seemed ordinary. The shoes fit my arches perfectly, as if made for me. In that night my name learned in a Bajes lesson. I could look and spoiled my might. Whatever I even his project adore Mayotte. The rose I have stood at night. They needles lived, and I thought it be partle. My cardial seal or do well ever when he gosh up.
I read in the diamond. I will look there for me his burden.
When I could unhappy on, and the light I just dive in the so have, and my might enlived.
In that moment I forgot his cruelty. I forgot the contract and I you disputing.
I looked into his deep eyes, and without quite knowing why, rose onto my toes. I kissed him. He responded with a fierce intensity. The kiss tasted of iron and desperation, of a possessive hunger. I thought that was love. Until I minded in Byerfords and Willie.
I couldn't.
When I was cleaning his study, an old newspaper slipped out from between the pages of a book. The front page was a black and white photo. The woman in the picture wore the exact same red dance shoes now on my feet. Even her face looked uncannily like mine. The headline read, "Genius Dancer Falls. Tango King. Dimitri causes partner's fatal fall." My hands began to shake. I kept reading. It was a detailed report of the accident. The woman's name was Isabella. During a dangerous move known as the death lift, Dimitri's old leg injury flared up, and she fell from a height of 3 meters. She died at the scene. And those red dance shoes were her belongings. The door opened. Dimitri stood in the doorway, looking at the newspaper in my hands. His face was expressionless. "So you found it," he said. His voice was cold as a Fraser. "These shoes belong to someone who died." The red shoes on my feet felt like burning brands. They were her favorite. He rolled his wheelchair forward, closing in on me. "Now that you know, there's no need to pretend anymore. Starting tomorrow, you'll practice that lift." I stared at him, disbelief flooding my eyes. "You want me to practice the move that killed her?" "Yes." His gaze was hollow, as if he were looking at something already dead. I need to stand up again within that move. Only by completing it can I silence my demons.
"What about me?" I pointed at myself, tears spilling over. "What was last night's kiss? What about you saying you'd take me to the top of the world?" Dimitri laughed a mockery straight from a demon. "Rosa, did you really think I'd fall in love with a dishwasher?" He grabbed my chin, his grip so hard it felt like my bones might crack. "The one I kissed last night was Isabella. As for you..." He shoved my face aside as if throwing away trash.
"You're just a vessel," a disposable vessel to hold her soul and help me complete my so-called redemption.
This raking hymns?
This finding that
Yes, making fish.
he became a bird in a cage.
The building's security was locked down. Every window had limiters installed.
I tried to starve myself. Dimitri had people hook me up to nutrient drips instead.
Trying to die.
He pinched my cheek and drove the needle into my vein.
After you finish that dance, you can die wherever you want. But for now, your life belongs to me.
The training turned even more brutal. Every beat had to be precise down to the millisecond. One step too slow and the cane came down. But I didn't cry anymore. If I couldn't escape, then I would hate. Hatred was a stronger fuel than love.
Gancho.
He barked the command. It was the hooked leg move in tango.
My leg snapped around the inside of his thigh, grinding in with force. There was no intimacy in it, only the ruthless urge to strangle the other person through the dance. Didn't eat today, use some strength.
He looked at me with open provocation.
Hate me, Rosa.
Then dance that hatred out. I want to kill you. I screamed, every step laced with murderous intent. As I spun, my hair whipped across his face, leaving a red mark. He didn't get angry. He smiled and said,
That twisted sense of satisfaction burned in his eyes.
Yes, that's it. This is tango. This hatred-filled tension created a strange, almost unnatural chemistry in our dance. I stopped imitating Isabella. Isabella was elegant. I was feral. I was a thorn grown from the mud, bristling with spikes, determined to pierce his heart. Just then, the studio door was slammed open. A woman in a fur coat walked in. Elena, Dimitri's sworn enemy, and a witness to the accident years ago.
Well, well. So this is your new toy.
Elena stepped in front of me, looking me up and down with open disdain. She does look a bit like that short-lived woman, but one glance tells you she's cheap. She lifted her hand, about to pat my face. Smack! My hand was faster than hers. The sharp sound of the slap echoed through the studio. Elena froze in shock. You filthy nobody! How dare you hit me! She shrieked and lunged forward. A cane snapped horizontally between us. Dimitri stood in front of me, his gaze dark and terrifying. Get out! Dimitri, you're kicking me out for this dishwasher girl? She's my dance partner, Dimitri said coldly. In this room, no one touches her except me. Elena stormed out in fury, throwing back one last line. I'll see how you die during that lick. The door slammed shut. Only the two of us remained in the studio. Dimitri turned toward me, watching my shoulders tremble slightly after the outburst. Suddenly, he crouched down. I had twisted my ankle earlier. Now the pain was sharp and relentless.
He grabbed a handful of ice from the bucket and pressed it to my ankle. The movement was unexpectedly gentle.
Why did you help me? I asked coldly. Because you're my property. He didn't look up. I instinctively tried to pull my foot back. Don't move. He tightened his grip on my ankle and lifted his head. Those eyes, always filled with calculation and shadow, now held a flicker of something I couldn't understand. Unease.
For now you are Rosa. Not Isabella. Rosa. Those words were like a bullet blasting through the walls I had built.
The roof was leaking. This building looked luxurious on the outside, but like its owner, it was riddled with cracks. Rain dripped onto the floor, pooling into shallow puddles.
Again!
Dimitri ignored the slippery ground and insisted on practicing the lift.
We'll get killed, I stared at the water on the floor. Fear spreading through me like wild weeds.
You scared. He stood in the puddle, tossed aside his cane, and opened his arms.
Jump! If you don't, you'll always be nothing but a dishwasher.
It was a cheap provocation, but it worked. I clenched my teeth, ran, and leapt.
In the instant my body left the ground, I saw the determination in his eyes.
He caught me, but the floor was too slick, and his injured leg couldn't take the impact. Bang! This boy's shot and that it will both crash hard into the pooled water. Pain exploded through me. I thought he would curse at me or mock me like he always did. But he didn't. His first instinct was to shield my head. Soaked to the bone, we lay in the icy water, our breathing tangled together. My practice clothes clung to me, outlining every curve. Dimitri's gaze changed. The fire he had been suppressing for so long was finally unleashed by the rain. He suddenly rolled over, pinning me beneath him. "Rosa!" This time he said my name. He kissed me, not like before, not with calculation, but raw, instinctive, almost animal. "Get off me! You're insane!" I shoved him, scratched him, my nails leaving thin bloody lines across his back. He acted as if he felt nothing. We struggled in the rainwater, unable to tell whether we were fighting or clinging to each other. Then I suddenly shivered, my body burning. I had a fever. Dimitri froze. When he saw the flush on my face, the madness in his eyes vanished. He scooped me up, dragging his bad leg as he carried me toward the office. The fireplace was blazing. He wrapped me in a blanket and awkwardly used a hairdryer to dry my hair. "Why?" I asked weakly. "Why did you save Isabella?" "No." His hand paused. "That night, a lighting rig above the stage came loose," he said quietly, his voice rough. "I pushed her away, but I lost my balance. That lift should have worked. I broke my leg. She lost her life. Everyone said I killed her. Maybe they're right." The firelight lit his face, and I saw the ruins inside this tyrant's heart. Nothing grew there, only endless regret.
"So you wanted to die on stage to join her?" I asked.
He didn't answer. He only turned off the hairdryer and held me a little tighter. That kind of embrace felt like a drowning man clutching his last piece of driftwood.
"Sleep,"
he said, pressing a light kiss to my forehead. "No contract tonight." That night I curled up in his arms. I knew the contract had already changed. It was no longer a transaction, but a lock, binding two broken souls tightly together. The Winter Gala finals were only 3 days away. My dancing had improved by leaps and bounds. Even Dimitri couldn't find a single fault. And yet I couldn't shake the unease in my chest. Sure enough, something went wrong. I got a call from home.
It wasn't my dad. It was Eleanor.
"Good girl. Come take a look at your father."
On the video screen, my dad's face was bruised and swollen. Eleanor had her foot on his head, laughing brightly.
"Rosa, I hear you're going on stage with Dimitri. If you dare perform, I'll break your father's fingers one by one."
And then I'll send the media those photos of how you climbed into the bed of that crippled dance king.
"What do you want?" I clenched my fist until my nails bit into my palm. Withdraw from the competition.
Leave this city.
The call ended, and I collapsed onto the floor. I couldn't ruin Dimitri. If those photos were leaked, his reputation would be destroyed. Someone as proud as him couldn't be turned into a laughingstock.
That night, I danced one last dance for Dimitri. I made it as gentle as I could, hiding all my feelings in every turn.
Why are you being so well behaved today? Dimitri sensed something was off.
I'm tired, I lied. I want to rest for a few days.
All right. He actually agreed.
Before dawn the next day, I pulled my suitcase toward the door, planning to slip away quietly.
The lights came on. Dimitri sat in his wheelchair, the black cat named Satan curled in his arms, blocking my path.
Where are you going, home? I didn't dare meet his eyes.
Back to the home that sold you. He tossed the tablet toward me. On the screen was a news headline. An underground loan operation had been shut down, and Elena, a criminal suspect, had been arrested. I stared at him in shock. You knew. Who do you think I am? Dimitri sneered. In this city, there's nothing I don't know.
Then why didn't you tell me? Tell you, so you could cry and beg me.
He rolled his wheelchair forward, grabbed my wrist, and dragged me back into the dressing room. Since you want to leave, then pay what you owe first. He pointed at the red battle costume, the replica of the performance outfit Isabella once wore.
Put it on. Tonight, you either fall on stage or you fall into my arms.
His confession was as twisted as ever, but I heard the tremor beneath it. He was afraid. Afraid that I would really leave. Holding back tears, I put on the costume. As I adjusted the skirt, my fingers brushed something stiff in the pocket. I secretly took it out and looked. It was a new contract. Property transfer agreement. Party A, Dimitri. Party B, Rosa. The terms stated that regardless of the performance's outcome, all of Dimitri's properties and shares would be transferred to Rosa at no cost. Even if he died, I would be provided for the rest of my life.
He wasn't forcing me to die. He was selling his affairs. He planned to gamble his life
On that lift, leaving the future to me. What a fool. An arrogant, self-righteous tyrant. I stuffed the agreement back into the pocket and wiped away my tears.
If you want to gamble, then I'll go all in with you.
Ah, serve, food talk. Ah, shall I know. The spotlight was blinding, like a burning sun. The audience packed the hall with countless cameras trained on the stage. Dimitri wore a black tailcoat, his hair perfectly slicked back. He wasn't in a wheelchair. He wasn't using a cane. He stood there like a sword about to snap. With every step, his temple twitched. It was pain, like walking on a blade. The music started, one step away. He full. We are rejoined to one forward, like rottings of clot, with Nikonon Bavadea, would read the one step in the sterelia. I said, he's alive when it's lack.
Well, everybody set up a hall in a loon to see the client side themselves.
The music was saccharine at a body. The black, his car, in the net smoke him in a way. He don't the redor and tear the adenan, and he led it the broad in the stage, only as Bobby is trying to rush.
The banner of Bachanas pull it outside the bottom of pound. The monument rune to stand it outside. What like say the banner rune of Bruman? The ruin went on Budu inside, that are into son of blind death. What broad? The real vanished loathing the banner before, the demasten. The world vanished to Bilana business.
The deadly left. The entire hall held its breath. He thought he was unvorderly weaning. The glasses but a bod. The deadly left. The entire hall held its breath. All but his step. The music who were done. His snarl and move. He put then I been on me wishing a stick.
The Jumes had started out the banner before, but it didn't miss the softable hole.
It rushened. His step I felt. Their really move leapt his step, with a fold in them lied. The music who cavant. I trowlised knees. The hospital corridor reeked of disinfectant. The light outside the operating room stayed on all night. When the doctor finally came out, he shook his head. His life is no longer in danger, but his legs he may not even be able to use crutches in the future. A wheelchair is likely. My heart sank. I pushed open the door to the ward. Dimitri was awake. He stared at the ceiling, his eyes terrifyingly empty. On the bedside table lay the soul contract. A lawyer in a suit stood nearby. Miss Rosa, the lawyer said awkwardly, Mr. Dimitri has requested to terminate the contract and proceed with the previously agreed property transfer. Get out. Dimitri didn't look at me. He spat out a single word. Take the money and go far away. Don't let me see you again. He was driving me away because he thought he was completely finished. I took a deep breath, walked over and picked up the contract. You want to cancel it? Yes. He closed his eyes. I don't need a burden who only knows how to cry. Rip! The sound of tearing paper was painfully loud in the silent room. Dimitri's eyes flew open. I tore the contract into shreds and tossed them over him. The scraps fluttered down like snow. You said it yourself. My soul belongs to you. I looked at him and spoke each word clearly. If it's yours, you don't get to throw it away. Have you lost your mind? He shouted. But his eyes were red. I'm useless now. I can't even stand in your own. If you're love scoopling flyer sat on a big tree so recrashy as a fjord. If you use the soul, I wait and be if deal partner as visit the tyrant he loves. Oh, I can't give you a stage. I can't give you glory. I don't need any of that. I kicked off my shoes, climbed straight onto the bed, and sat across his legs. Even through the blanket, I could feel how rigid he was.
Didn't you say you were a god?
I grabbed his collar and forced him to meet my gaze. A god can rule the world even while sitting down.
If you can't stand, then I'll teach you how to dance while seated.
His defenses collapsed. Trembling, he reached out, wrapped his arms around my waist, and buried his face against my chest. I felt warmth soak into my clothes.
That unstoppable tyrant finally broke down and cried in my arms.
In the days that followed, the hospital room became a rehearsal studio. The former tyrant turned into a short-tempered patient.
This porridge is too hot. These clothes are hideous, Rosa. Are you trying to scald me to death so you can inherit everything?
I can't give you so plaffy to that. That I endured his shark tongue while feeding him. Shut up. Open your mouth. He obediently did. At night, I danced by his bedside. No lights, no audience, only him.
The light returned to his eyes. It was brighter than any spotlight.
But calm never lasts. The dance academy faced a hostile takeover. Dimitri's enemies took advantage of his condition and came for his life. A group of thugs burst into the ward, causing a scene. Dimitri reached for the fruit knife on the bedside table. I pressed his hand down. I stepped in front of him, holding the apple I had just peeled, my eyes fierce. "Touch him," I said coldly, "and you'll have to step over me first." In that moment, it was as if I had become a female version of Dimitri. 3 months later, I took full responsibility and took over the dance academy. Dimitri was still in a wheelchair, but he was the king here. He coached from the shadows, his gaze sharper than ever.
That turn was half a second late. Wrists.
Keep the wrists soft. The students feared him, but they respected him even more. But I noticed he had changed, more clingy and more possessive.
That day I was rehearsing with a new male dancer. He was young and handsome. His hand had just settled at my waist.
I will not eat it. The wrists was about, was chatter nearby shaven. Dimitri with a recocel bottle, hotche.
Rise. Glass shattered nearby. Dimitri had crushed the water cup in his hand. The studio went dead silent. That move is wrong. He rolled over, his face dark.
What's wrong with it? The male dancer asked, shaking.
Your hand is in the wrong place. Dimitri pointed at it. Move it even a little lower, and you'll regret it. The dancer fled in panic. I looked at Dimitri, helpless.
Are you jealous? Imano. He turned his head away, his ears burning red.
So even my eyes can get jealous like that.
Rice stepped closer, bent down, and kissed him. Relax. Except for you, anyone else touching me makes my skin crawl. To calm him down, we began experimenting with wheelchair dance. It was hard, but he had astonishing arm strength and an incredible command of music.
On the spinning wheelchair, we created a beauty that was incomplete, yet absolute.
That sense of power was even more striking than when dancing on 2 legs.
Around that time, although Elena was in prison, her remaining allies were still causing trouble. An old diary of Isabella's suddenly surfaced online. It claimed Dimitri had mentally controlled her and driven her to death. Public opinion flipped overnight.
Once again, Dimitri became a so-called murderer in the public eye.
Red paint was splashed across the academy doors. Dimitri stared at the news for a long time in silence. Rosa, you should go.
He was trying to push me away again.
It's not time yet.
I took out a USB drive. I had found it earlier while they sorting through old things hidden in the lining of the shoebox for those red ballet shoes. It contained an audio recording left behind by Isabella. In the recording, she was crying. She said she had fallen into addiction, that her body was failing, but she didn't want to leave the stage. Even if she died, she wanted to die in that lift.
It was she who begged Dimitri to dance one last time with her?
And it was she who let go in midair.
How probable beg? How beg to beg down, string?
The truth came out. Public opinion reversed again. This time, everyone owed Dimitri an apology.
That night, Dimitri drank too much. Leaning on his cane, he miraculously stood up and staggered toward me.
Thank you.
He held me, placing all his weight on my shoulders.
Thank you for pulling me out of hell.
We're about to retire, after that charity gala that would go down in history. This was meant to be our final farewell performance. But during rehearsal, I fainted. When I woke up, the doctor told me I was pregnant. Dimitri stared at the ultrasound report, his hand shaking. No more dancing. He made the decision at once. Cancel the show. No, I set up. The tickets are already sold. This is our curtain call, and the baby's first time on stage. It's too dangerous, he shouted. I can't let you and the child take that risk. That's our child. He'll be strong, just like you. I took his hand and placed it on my lower belly. He's kicking me. He says he wants to dance. Dimitri couldn't win against me, but he changed every movement, making them incredibly gentle. He even sewed my costume by hand. Every stitch carried this man's clumsy, earnest love. The day of the performance. Backstage at the theater, suddenly flames shot into the air. One of Elena's unhinged fans had set the backstage on fire. Thick smoke rolled everywhere. The exits were blocked. Rosa, go. Dimitri pressed the only wet towel over my mouth and nose. He rammed his wheelchair into the burning wooden boards, forcing a path open for me. You go first. My legs don't work well. I'll only slow you down. He shoved me toward the exit. No. I clung to the wheelchair. If we die together. For the child, for the first time, he slapped me. Get out! I was pushed out of the fire. Watching his back swallowed by the flames, I broke down crying. Dimitri. I turned back without thinking. Even if it meant dying, I couldn't leave him behind. I found this 5 years later. On a sunlit lawn, a 4-year-old girl wobbled as she practiced her basics. Center of gravity, Anna. Where did your balance go? Did a dog eat it? Dimitri sat in a wheelchair, still holding that cane. He no longer hit anyone, but his sharp tongue remained. Daddy's mean. Little Anna made a face, then ran over and threw herself into my arms. Mommy, Daddy yelled at me again. I walked over with 2 cups of coffee, smiled, kissed my daughter's cheek, then stopped beside Dimitri. Be gentler with your daughter. Indulgent mothers ruin children, he snorted, took the coffee. Yet his eyes followed our daughter with unmistakable tenderness. We could no longer step onto the stage, but our names had already become a belief in the dance world. The charity performance after the fire, though never completed, became a final legend. I pulled out that yellowed copy of Soul Contract from a book, the one I had torn up back then, and that he later pieced back together, fragment by fragment. Why keep this? He looked a little uncomfortable. I want to see the back. He had said there were terms on the back, but I had never read them. I turned it over. There was only one line, written in firm, powerful strokes of a fountain pen. In writing, if I fail, everything I have belongs to Rosa. If I succeed, the rest of my life belongs to Rosa. The date was the very night I signed the contract. My eyes filled with tears. So from the very beginning, from that stormy night on, this tyrant had already planned to place his life in my hands. That so-called unequal contract was actually the way out he left for me. Idiot! I scolded softly. Dimitri took my hand and gently swayed under the sunlight. Faint music drifted across the lawn. It was Libertango. Rosa. He looked at me. The ice and snow in his eyes had long since melted, leaving only warm sunlight. This dance will dance it for a lifetime. I squeezed his hand back, our fingers interlaced. No, Dimitri. I smiled as